episode of Surviving the Survivor, we bring you the best guests in all of true crime. Don't forget to subscribe and smash that like button. Here's your host, Emmy Award-winning broadcaster, Joel Waldman.
What's up, STS Nation? Welcome to another episode of Surviving the Survivor. It is the podcast that promises to bring you the very best guests in all of true crime, sometimes the best guests on 2 shows in a row because they are that good. And, of course, you've got tonight right out of the gates. You know both of these people. Famed Tallahassee criminal defense attorney, R, as in the letter R, also O-U-R, Timothy Jansen. One of the finest gentlemen you will ever meet, a true Southern gentleman who's actually from the Midwest originally and practicing law in Tallahassee. Is a law firm named Law Firm of the Year in 2024. No surprise there. Tim is also a former federal prosecutor. And then you've got the professor. Look at this. Already making excuses from True Crime Talk. That would be the COE. That is our new channel. Tim is going to be appearing on there at some point. Who knows? Maybe he and Joe will do a show together. We never know. Tim wants to do a cook. Yeah, Tim's going to do a cooking show while talking true crime, which is that I feel like that is bound to be the next like Survivor. that thing is going to be like on CBS prime time. You imagine that? Tim Jansen's going to sign a $150 million 5-year contract, and it'll all be. Tim, you better not forget about me when you when you do that. Thank you from Suzman. Subscribe if you watched, or Suzman. I'm not sure, but please do. If you're watching, please subscribe. So this is, by the way, Joe Potuto is a professor Emerita at the University of Nebraska Law School. She is the legal eagle, the professor. She's the professor to the stars, to Tim Jansen. Surviving, look at this. Here's another one. Surviving Tim's Cooking. That's a great title, too. We're coming up. Crime Cooking on the Crime Time Cooking on the Food Network.
They had one good last time. It was good. I forget what this said.
I already forget what it was, too, but it was good. The best part here, Joe talked about this on the last show, was when the judge said, "Stop talking, Mrs. Adelson." Like, who has I think she is. So, we're going to get into the details of this. Just a little background. I actually was speaking with the Markel family who we knew about this, but no one was really covering it. It was supposed to be this very impromptu, quick little hearing that ended up not being that long. Donna Adelson was not supposed to appear, and then she appears suddenly via Zoom. There is a Zoom recording. We'll try to get it. We'll put it on Patreon. If we can, but we have the complete breakdown. And part of the reason we have that is thanks to the Tallahassee Democrat and Jeff Burlew, who's an amazing print reporter. And he's all over this case. And if you're really interested in this case, you should be subscribing to local journalism, the Tallahassee Democrat, because Burlew knows what he's talking about. But Tim Jansen.
They can see my articles. They can see my articles. I write for the paper.
Yes, they can. Tim is all over that paper. But Tim, even Judge Everett, will get into it, sort of admonished the defense, saying this motion was so vague. Even he didn't know this was going on. So why did this go on today?
It's another trick. It really, I don't think it really has any merit. I don't think it's ripe for them to save or perpetuate the testimony because they haven't proven these witnesses are unavailable or will be unavailable. It's speculative to say that because they're on drugs, they're going to be unavailable and all drugged out. Well, if that's your position on these witnesses, what credibility do they have as witnesses in a case if you don't have much confidence that they can stay sober or remember what they allegedly saw? I think Judge Everett did what he had to do to give him a record. I think the motion was vague and lacked substance, and that's what he let him know.
So just a little background on what went on today. Again, it was not expected. Donna has her defense team, her new team, Jackie Fulford, a former judge, now a funeral parlor owner and criminal defense attorney, an odd combo. And Josh Zellman, a criminal defense attorney who Tim Jansen says is pretty good at what he does. And then you've got Georgia Kaplan there in the state. And basically,
she's
Donna
pretty good at
asked,
what she does too.
Yeah, she's pretty good at what she does.
Yeah. Prosecutor of the
ADA of the
year.
year. Yeah,
Yeah.
there you go. But this centers Joe Potuto on two former fellow inmates who allegedly had jailhouse conversations with Katie Magbanua. So what is going on here? I mean, I was trying to like read between the lines, but is Donna, she's claiming that within the jail, she's gotten word about these two other inmates being housed with Katie, and Katie was telling her all this information, which we'll break down.
I'm not sure because I haven't. I heard the end of the Zoom this whenever it was today, just the last 5 minutes, and when I tried to get it again, I couldn't. It sounded to me, and Tim, you may have better information being there, but it sounded to me as though Donna said that she had talked to inmates who had talked to Catherine Magbanua, and they said that Catherine said, or Katie said, that she was working on a plan to blackmail Charlie. And that's, I don't know what else it is. They said, I mean, you got hearsay on hearsay here. What else they said that Katie said to them about that would be relevant to the trial, but that sounds like what it was. And at the end of the hearing, the part that I caught, the part where Judge Everett told her to stop talking, she said, we have to, essentially, she said, we have to do something because one of them is a street person and we don't know where she is now. That was the comment that she had made. I paraphrased it a little when the judge stopped her. So, Tim, and what Judge Everett says was, you haven't made the showing that they're unavailable. I don't even know what's at least the end of it. And so he just denied it. I don't think, from her tone when she was talking, I don't think she was particularly happy. I was surprised that she stopped talking when he told her to stop talking, actually. I thought she would go on and continue to make her case. But that's the most I know about it. Tim, you may know more.
Tim, real quick, before you bounce in with that,
Yeah.
I just want to set it up a little. According to Donna, these two inmates that she's talking about relayed critical statements from Katie Magbanua, primarily that Magbanua allegedly planned to set up the Adelson family to secure a reduced sentence. The direct quote was, "Wait until I come back. I'm going to take care of that family. Wait until they see what they're going to get, and I'm going to get a reduced sentence." This is all hearsay. But Tim, the question I was going to ask, and I'll let you run free. She's kind of digging a deeper grave, proverbially speaking, for Charlie Adelson, because now she's going right back to the whole Latin Kings thing, and these guys were setting up, this murder, and it was all them. Had nothing to do with the Adelsons. Are they going to have to move Charlie from South Dakota to Nome, Alaska next?
Well, you think about this. If her defense is going to rest on the testimony of two drug dealing inmates who may or may not be sober or dry for trial, it's a stretch. And the motion was bare bones because the evidence is triple hearsay. And Donna, why would Donna be talking about her case? She's been instructed by her lawyers not to talk about the case. Very convenient. She's only talking about the case when she gets something that might be beneficial. This seems to have stink to it. Okay. And Judge Everett is smart enough to know you can't perpetuate the testimony of someone who's available. He said, go ahead and subpoena him. Put a subpoena on him right now. And then we'll see. But then he said at the end, your motion was so lacking that I wasn't going to grant it anyway, basically. And then Josh said, well, I'm afraid the media and all the podcasts. So what? Now he's not going to file proper, fully written motions because he's afraid of podcasts? I mean, that's not going to get him anywhere with the court and an appellate court.
Yeah.
Now, and I would add, to the extent that they want to claim that Katie told, I guess, one or both of these women, I don't know why she's talking to two people about this, but she apparently, maybe she was running an auditorium or something, And then somehow these two women got into a place where they could talk to Donna. I mean, they have to be situated so they could talk to both ends of this. It's not as though it's one or the other. And then if Katie is going to make up a story, why didn't she make up a really good story about this? I mean, the story didn't nail I mean, her version of it wasn't, a slam dunk in terms of what the relationship with Charlie was, or with Donna. Seems to me if she was going to tell a lie, she might as well tell a really good one that really nails it. That would make the blackmail easier.
That's a great point. IGG rocks for a reason. She says he's afraid of STS. Just admit it. Next time you see Zellman, Jansen, you better ask him, hey, are you afraid?
I will.
One of my favorite fighters of all time, Nick Diaz and the Diaz brothers, he had a slogan, don't be scared, homie. And that's what you got to say to Josh Zellman.
This is a Wendy's commercial. Where's the beef?
Yeah.
Right?
So this is a direct quote from Donna here. She, meaning Katie Magbanua, said, wait until I come back. I'm going to take care of that family. Wait until they see what they're going to get, and I'm going to get a reduced sentence. She said she had her plan worked. She would not be where she is. Oh, she said had her plan worked, she would not be where she is. She would be sitting pretty in Hawaii, not Vietnam, not to be confused with Vietnam, but in Hawaii, drinking a fancy drink. I mean, Tim,
for $100,000. For $100,000.
I mean, what about Joe's point? I mean, I cannot believe that any of this is true. I mean, I know that we are biased in fairness to Donna Adelson for 1 second of my life, but why not make up a better lie? I mean, this is just laughably bad. This is like the double extortion, but worse.
It's worse than that because, Donna's she's in the annex. She's separated from the regular facility. She's in there with like 60 other women. They've got her in a very corner on a bottom bunk. No one really gets near her. Okay. So you're telling me that these two drug defendants somehow were able to get to her, talk about her case, and she can recall these statements. And now one is not even there anymore. And this is what she's going to rely on. This is desperation.
I mean, just speaking to that for a moment, Joe Potuto, Tim said it was just like sort of gamesmanship, but isn't there a point where defense gamesmanship? I mean, this annoyed the judge that Zellman filed sort of very detailless in his filing. And then Donna's up there yapping away to the point where he has to tell her to, shut her mouth. But so is there a point where this like defense gamesmanship can become hurtful and not helpful to your case?
Well, of course. I mean, there's no question that that's true. But I do think that if there's no case there, then, I mean, if you're at zero, you can't, I mean, a minus is not, it doesn't matter at some point. And, this judge has already had it, I think, not with these two in particular, but he's had it with defense lawyers in this case. And I don't think he's got, I don't know what his leash is generally, but I think it's pretty short already right now. And so if I were they, I would not want to, I shouldn't laugh because this is serious, but I would not want to antagonism anymore. I would want to be, just the nicest, make things as easy as possible. And I wouldn't be doing anything like this. And if they really thought they couldn't say anything because podcasts would pick it up, why didn't they ask for the hearing to be in camera? I mean, why did they? Yeah, that's right. Take the whole thing in.
You can file motions under seal. You put in there the basis. You let the JAs and you let the state attorney know why you're filing under seal. And if the judge says, I don't think it was properly under seal, he'll unseal it. I mean, there's proper ways to do things. But you can't just shirk your responsibility by saying, I'm afraid of podcasts and media attention. You signed up for this. You signed up for this high profile case. You're getting big bucks. You got your friend working with you on this case. The good and the bad come with it, So he needs to buckle up and get ready to roll.
By the way, Josh Zellman and Jackie Fulford, you have an open invite here on STS. It went very well for Dan Rashbaum. Come on and we will have an open conversation. I'd like to hear your take on this defense. Jared Tess is here with a very good comment. Joe Potuto, Charlie and Katie both confirmed that Katie slept over the night she got the stapled money and left the next morning. Blackmailers do not sleep over. Obvious holes with the story. What do you make of that comment? And then it says, Tim, that ain't no prison food. Not Tim. Tim makes the gourmet stuff.
right.
But what about that? She sleeps over. Now it's a whole blackmailing scheme. I mean, it just didn't add up for a jury to buy it with Charlie. Is it going to add up for a jury to buy with Donna?
I don't think so. And I don't, with trials, as with teaching, as with, I think, anything else, you want to keep it simple. You don't want to be building a castle that has more doors and, rooms to go in and out of that no one can follow it. And, this seems to me just be adding complication onto complication. Maybe they believe her. Maybe they feel this is evidence they have to put forward. I don't know. And I wouldn't, the judge was clearly not sandbagged, but to come in and at that time tell him something that they want him to rule on that he never expected, it's just not the way I would do a trial for sure.
Yeah, it seems, I don't know, amateurish at best, ignorant, maybe, I don't know. But Jenny Moody, these go a long way. So thank you so much. A super chat. So thankful for the coverage of this very important case, while also riveted by a recent coverage of the nightmare who are the Alexander brothers. That case is tough. That's tough to cover. We just did an hour and a half with Joe Potuto and two psychologists. They're accused of Diddy-like crime. Someone yells at me whenever I say that. I don't know exactly why, but it's somewhat similar. Alicia Elliott, thank you for this. So it goes on, Tim Jansen, and it just gets worse. By the way, the last show was super heavy. We're not going to go that long tonight, but I want to open it up to STS Nation. Won't do that quite. I mean, I will because I do it the whole time. But at the end of going through this content, I'll have you guys put in questions, and we'll spend the last few minutes asking the best guests questions. There's one right here. What is Donna trying to do with this? We'll answer that in a minute. But her testimony, Tim, she made it very clear that she was blackmailing Charlie, my son.
Right.
I'm a little nervous. I hadn't prepared to testify. These are all Donna quotes. They both have drug problems, meaning the witnesses, and signaled they would use again once they are released. She was nervous, so she decided to not stop talking. But Tim,
how much do you need to prepare to testify what two inmates told you that might be favorable? Could it be that she was more embellishing to make it more favorable and then downgrading their availability? And maybe she was releasing that she felt her lawyers didn't properly prepare her that she might have to testify.
I think it might be a true statement. She's a little nervous because she doesn't know how she's going to lie through this very well.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's think about this. How much do you think Georgia and Sarah need Katie for Donna? Right? How much do they really need all the baggage she's come in? She's coming in with 2 trials. She lied and perjured herself in 2 trials. Then now she's trying to get a deal. How much does she give? Now, she gave something to Charlie because she was there, got the money and saw the money, and she was there and she paid these people. That's not going to come in against Donna. It might, but it's not that important.
Well, isn't it that Donna stopped and provided the money that morning? That's where the money came from, showing that Donna had knowledge of the deal and was paying.
She said that Charlie told her, my parents just came, true. Right? So that's a co-conspirator statement, right? That's an exception to the hearsay. It would be admissible because it's in furtherance of the conspiracy to pay off the murderers. So that would be an admissible statement, which would otherwise be hearsay, not admissible.
Right.
Tim, I still don't get like the chain of this story. Do you? Like, these are inmates who were in with Katie who somehow informed Donna. How do you know how this like kind of goes?
It sounds like order? These 2 inmates in this 60-person bunk came up to Donna and told Donna, hey, I was with Katie and Katie told me this, and nobody else. I don't hear any other inmates coming forward that heard this, right? It's only Donna heard this. And Donna's not talking about her case in the jail, right? Or she's not supposed to be. But she's just happened to get 2 potentially exculpatory statements that would impeach Katie. It just things don't happen like this, right? And I'll tell you, it usually happens on the other side, Joe, right? Usually a snitch comes in for the government, and then you impeach him by saying, hey, you're just trying to get a better deal. Well, what do you have here now? What are the Adelsons paying these people? What are they trying to get from the Adelsons when they get out to give these? That's what they need.
And how can one of them be missing in action already? I mean, what did Donna get this statement and then decide to sit on it for a few weeks until somebody got lost and now brought it forward? Because the comment that I heard at the end of that was that one of them, they didn't know where she was. She was on the street. Well, what did they do? They released her the day that Donna got the statement. She couldn't get to her lawyers fast enough.
No, she talks to her lawyers quite often. And that information would be important if they really thought they would say, Judge, she's out on the street. We can't find her. She's been out and we're worried. My investigator's trying to find her. I didn't see an investigator come testify that, hey, Judge, we can't find her. We can't locate her. I didn't see any testimony to that.
I still don't know how she got out. I mean, the sequence is the one that's missing goes to Donna and tells her, and then they let her walk off and get lost. Wouldn't you do something to try to get the information from her immediately? What was she told Donna the day she was being released?
Well, did they give the names of these witnesses?
No, well, I didn't hear the whole, so I can't answer that. I don't know.
Well, they're going to have to file reciprocal discovery, and they're going to have to list them as witnesses so the state can do their backgrounds, and they're going to have to look at their backgrounds, and you'll be able to find out when they got out. So the story's not, if it doesn't add up, they're going to be able to prove it.
KCL here. Hello, my favorite STS with best host, best guest, Tim and Joe, and best chat peeps. Been missing you, KCL. I haven't seen you here, friend of the show. And she's up to date on all of the true crime stories, like every single one of them.
She's in LA, right? She's in LA?
Salt Lake City, I believe.
Oh, Salt Lake City.
Yeah. So, Donna says she made it very clear that Katie made it very clear that she was blackmailing Charlie. This kind of made me laugh. And then a claim was made about Sigfredo Garcia, who, of course, fathered the children of Katie Magbanua. And Katie Magbanua was dating Charlie. That's the whole connection. But a claim was made by one of these inmates of Sigfredo Garcia having a tattoo of Katie Magbanua holding a machine gun, which I guess is supposed to give the impression that she's a violent gangbanger. But I don't know. I just laughed at that because I just can see like Donna being like, okay, remember to tell Judge Everett about the machine gun tattooed on Katie. Don't forget to tell him. And then she's bringing it up. It was insane. But so this is the crew here. We all know it. Luis Rivera, who might be the most credible witness of all. Katie in the middle. Sigfredo Garcia. Then you've got Wendy, Charlie with the buzz cut, now grown out. Harvey and Charlie with the big ears. Donna with equally big ears, and Dan Markel, the victim in all this, along with the Markel family. And listen, my heart goes out to Phil and Ruth and Shelley. Every time something like this happens, they have to relive this. By the way, there's a big hearing Monday, I believe it is. Not Monday, Tuesday, I believe it is, at 2:30. Yeah, on the 11th, and we're going to cover that. Georgia Kaplan's argument here: almost all witnesses in criminal cases may not be available to testify at trial. I mean, Joe, this was the argument they're making about these quote unquote inmates / drug users, is that they might be using again, or they might move location. So again, a very hollow, thin argument. Did Georgia need to do anything else? I don't think so, because she basically got her way.
Well, was she surprised also? Did she know nothing about what they were going to say except what was in the motion?
I would imagine, because if the judge, Tim, what do you think? I mean, if Judge Everett was surprised, wouldn't she have been surprised?
Well, they set this for a hearing, didn't they? So they had to file motions and set it for a hearing. Otherwise, Georgia wouldn't be there. I don't think it was a
Yeah, but the
normal state
motion was
manner.
the one that was very vague about what it was that was going to
Yeah.
be done.
Yeah, like
right?
exactly. I don't think she knew necessarily. I might be completely wrong, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't think she knew these details were coming out, or even that maybe Donna wanted to speak with the judge or speak openly in court.
Well, then I would add that this is not, at least as a defense lawyer, and Tim, you've got much more experience, but this is not the way I would operate with the prosecution in a case. I would try, as long as they seem to be operating fairly, I would be trying to do the same thing and not do things that would set them off as to, not because they can make things easier or hard as you go forward in a trial. And I would not try to encourage them to do it, in a way that makes it hard for me by pulling something like this if they didn't give them an advance, warning about this.
You can do your adversarial role, and that's what it is, prosecution, defense. And Sarah and I we have a case now going on, and we completely different sides of the table. But she was professional enough to call me and told me what she was doing. I was professional enough to call her, and we understood what each party was going to do. We disagreed. We fought in court, but it was always professional to the judge, and that's the way it should be. If you think you're going to play tricks with the judge, the court, and the prosecution, you're going to end up losing. It's like gambling in Vegas. You're eventually going to lose. You might get away with it one time, two times, but you've killed your relationship with the state attorney's office, and you've ruined your reputation with the judges. And every judge talks to the other judges.
Right.
Yeah.
Joel, as
Kate,
I read this, I think if I were to try to reconstruct, I'm going to retract what I had said a moment ago. It seems as though the two may still be in the jail and they want to get their statements recorded now because they're afraid they're going to be released and then won't be able to be found. Is that it?
That's how I read it.
That's
I mean,
okay.
That's how
that makes more sense to me than the way I was reading it originally. But did you say that one of them talked about Sigfredo having the tattoo with Katie with the machine gun?
apparently that came from one of the inmates.
Okay,
to
so
Donna.
their story is not only did Katie talk to them about the blackmail scheme, but she also described what Sigfredo, the tattoo that Sigfredo had on his arm. They must have been very chummy. They shared a lot of subjects together.
By the way, once again, Tim, real quick. All these graphics, they don't come out at Thin Blue Air, so thanks to the COE who puts these together. Space Coast on the West Coast, and Steve Cohen, who I'm texting with, he actually reached out to Tara Kawas, Katie's attorney, during her trials to get a statement from her about this. So if we get that, I'm going to tweet it out at Podcast STS. I'll put it on Instagram at Surviving the Survivor. Tim Jansen, go right ahead.
All right. So people act normal and they continue to act the way they are. That's the way they are. How many witnesses came in from the state when Katie was on trial saying that Katie was talking about her case, saying things that would impeach her, or confessions? Zero. She didn't talk about her case at all. And she was in there for 2 trials for years. But yet they want you to believe she's now talking to these drug addicts just to get her sentence reduced. It doesn't pass the smell test.
Yeah, I agree with you. Judge Everett, besides tying Donna to zip it, says, if this were a situation where we were dealing with something such as a military deployment or someone who's dealing with a grave illness or something that is more concrete than just this person may use drugs again in the future, I think would be on a little more firmer footing. The defense should subpoena the witness to secure their testimony at trial. I mean, Tim, walk us through the process. I mean, let's just assume for a minute, and this is a big assumption, but let's assume for a minute that a pair of inmates do have pertinent information. It doesn't even have to be about this case. What would be the proper way of getting their testimony for trial?
It's very easy. If they still have a lawyer, who's representing him while they're in jail if their charges are still pending. You get your investigator, the lawyer calls the lawyer and says, hey, listen, we want to my investigator go take a statement, get an affidavit from them, and we'd like to subpoena them, and we're going to list them as a witness, and the state's probably going to want to depose them. The reason why the state is going to fight this is, and the same reason the defense doesn't want prosecution witnesses being done by deposition, because the jury has a right to see these witnesses testify, and they have to go by cross-examination. And much about the credibility of a witness is by their body responses and how they respond to cross-examination. That's not the same as when you're watching a video, a dull video with questions. That's not the same. And the defense doesn't want these people subject to cross-examination.
Right.
They don't. And who knows if they're going to get this and then make sure they're not available. I mean, that's a bad thing to say. I don't think that. But maybe these people do have drug problems. And maybe they might, depending on their records, they may be on fentanyl, they may be on meth, and they may have a history. So they may be right that they may not, as soon as they get out, and if it's that important, list them as a witness, take their deposition. And
Tim, I want to follow up. You had said rightfully and insightfully that Katie stayed quiet through the 2 trials. Nobody came forward. Well, this would not be the time to come forward with information that would really tank any chance she'd have at a reduction of sentence. I mean, this would be crazy to do it now.
This is her last. This is her last chance. The last thing she's going to be is talking about inmates to ruin her 1 inch of credibility she had left.
Yeah. IGG rocks here. This has made me laugh a little bit. We all remember Donna's planner. Let's look at her prison planner. I'm surprised. Things have been very quiet. If you remember last time around, Charlie's jailhouse calls got out. Nothing as far as we know. COE, it's probably time to put in a FOIA request with the SAO, the state attorney's office. Jared here tests us with another great comment. The 2 inmates are helping the rich woman. I wonder why. Money does go a long way. And Tim Jansen, what about this? Why did Donna tell the judge herself? She wasn't even supposed to be on this Zoom. Doesn't it go through her lawyer? Is that a mistake by Zellman or Fulford for her to just be speaking in open court as opposed to the lawyers providing, I guess, the testimony from her to the judge?
Well, I think the judge, I think they needed to have some foundation for someone that heard the statements, because if the lawyers get it, unless the lawyers talk to these witnesses, then they don't have anything. They couldn't even file the motion. They had to have some bare bones that something was said that might be exculpatory. That's the first layer. Got to be exculpatory or impeachment of a government witness, which would make it Brady material. And then you got to have the foundation, and then you got to show that they're not available. There's a lot of levels that had not been reached for this to happen.
Again, I think this hurts Charlie in terms of his target growing larger. But what about this, Tim? From Grandma AK. I hope that doesn't stand for AK-47. Do you think this puts a target, Tim, on Donna from Katie? And by the way, now is the time. I'm going to scroll to the bottom of the chat. If you have questions, do it like this, triple Qs. But Tim, I already just forgot the last. Oh, does this put a bigger target on Donna's back potentially?
Well, things in the institution, they roll around. I mean, they move like the flu. And it's gonna be passed around. People are gonna get information. It's gonna be in the papers. Katie's gonna find out about it, right? And sure, she's gonna find out. I just don't get why they did what they did, and I don't know why they didn't do it under seal, unless, again, like the last time, they want something favorable out in the public for the jury, when you should be doing this under seal.
Look at this COE. Is this a still photo? This is looks like that's Josh Zellman. See George on the right. There you go, and Jackie Fulford. So this is a still shot from today. That is courtroom 3B. You can just see the top of Judge Everett's head. Tim, this courtroom 3B looks a little nicer in terms of the condition. than 3G, but that's just me. Carpet looks, by the way, that's the FSU colors. I love it. Tim, what about this? Julia, is Don
Really?
is
You
Donna
think?
like what is Zellman and Fulford like? What do they deal with? By the way, I'm not saying that I'm narcissistic or self-centered, but Ned Smith, Donna's aim today was to give Joel content for 9 o'clock. That could have been it. She could have said, "What do I do to help Joel work harder?" Let me give him a 9 o'clock show. Tim Jansen, what about this high maintenance client issue? I mean, is she call them? Like, what is what is that dynamic like? Because if it was me, I'd have to keep her at an arm's length.
Well, most clients can be very high maintenance. Donna's going to be a high maintenance client because of the nature of the charges.
Tell me the streaker. When she calls, do you just ignore the call? What do you do?
Well, one thing I don't do, I don't usually take calls from the jail because they're all recorded. They're not supposed to be, but I know they are. I found some of my conversations had leaked. So while they don't use them, I don't really want the state or the authorities listening to our conversations. So I don't usually talk on the phone with my clients in jail. I go see them in person.
Okay. That makes sense. COE is telling me there's COE. Can you bring the? Here's one. I know. I don't know. I thought I put up the other one. Judge Stephen Everett's ruling 7 and 8. If this were a situation where we were dealing with something such as, I just read that one. COE. Gotta get with the ball. Put up the other one. There we go. If don't talk to her like that. If at some point we are no longer, I always lose on the show. It's either Carm or the COE that I'm being mean to. If at some point we are no longer dealing with something that is completely speculative, we can readdress the motion. Calling out the defense for omitting. Sorry, I've had a dry cough for like 9 weeks, and I should probably be concerned. But calling out the defense for omitting details in their filing. Forget about the media. I'm going to the sufficiency of the pleading itself. Again, Tim, Judge Everett said, yo, what's up? Like, you didn't put anything in this motion. I had no idea what was coming. I was blindsided. And his response was, what's up, Abby Crossing? His response was essentially, yeah, I didn't want to tip off the media. I mean, it's a public courtroom. That rang hollow, too. I mean, how annoyed is Judge Everett? Like, is he just like, does he just want this whole case to be over, like the whole thing?
Listen, he's got a lot of pressure and stress on him. He knows this is a high profile case. Everybody's watching it. He's calling balls and strikes. So what they basically did is they waited before he got behind the plate and wanted him to call a ball and a strike. And he wasn't ready to make a ruling or even to review anything. And then it didn't have enough on it for him to make a ruling. Judges don't like to be put in positions where they're not prepared and a motion is before them and it's in the media and he hasn't been given due notice. They don't like that. They really don't like it. And they do get mad, but he's a professional enough not to show it.
Yeah. By the way, True Lifestyle is a friend of ours, friend of the show, saying that, and True Lifestyles gets a lot of the call logs. By the way, True Lifestyle, let us know if there's anything going on. We should be on top of it. But anyway, she says that Jackie Fulford, the lawyer, and Donna are quote unquote BFFs. Mary Binney here, a member for 13 months. Thank you. Do you think, Joe, that Katie's going to be called to testify this time around? You heard Tim say they don't necessarily need her.
Right. I don't know. I think Tim is right that they don't need her. They've got a lot of other stuff. I suppose if this evidence gets in, they are going to need her on rebuttal at least to go against what these two are saying. I've been sitting here pondering whether Sigfredo has said nothing at all. And I've been sitting here wondering if Katie is attacked, and her chance of getting out because of what she's been trying to do in terms of start turning state evidence is undermined by all this, whether this might, get him out of his silence and whether he would have information that she told him, and she's a conspirator here, about the involvement of the Adelsons, or he might have other information that he can provide, which would be an interesting consequence of all this.
Yeah. Interesting. KCL basically echoing what is going on. Judge Everett thinks that the motion is completely speculative. IGG Rocks, thank you very much. I hate to. She asked how my neck is doing. I want to have proof that she asked me and that Carm doesn't yell at me for bringing it up on my own. I would not have brought it up, but she asked, look right here. It's right here. How is your neck? I was at the doctor again today. He says it's not because of my podcast setup. He said one word, aging. And I literally almost had a nervous breakdown. It's scary. I should not, like, suddenly I'm falling apart. But anyway, if anyone out there in STS land knows, he's trying to get me to get a lidocaine and cortisone shot in my neck, which I'm not dying to do, but the pain, it hurts. It's not fun. And right now, Carm is screaming into her pillow. Why is he talking about himself? Because it's my show and my neck hurts. And someone asked me about my neck. So I am responding. On we go here. Tim Jansen, there is a big, beautiful bouquet. Projo, is it your birthday, Projo?
No, it is not.
Oh, just have a
student sent those to her.
Look at this. No one has
How
ever
many
accused
times
me.
did you send a bouquet to a professor, Tim?
Never.
God, I would have paid to see Tim in his L1 year. By the way,
one L.
What I say? L1, one L. Sorry.
Same.
Did I write a book? Yes, I was talking to the publisher today.
I was waiting for that to come up. The book.
Yeah, the book. It's on Audible. He says it's doing really well on Audible. It could be doing better in print. So if you have the Audible, go out and buy like 30 print copies. I like my publisher. He's a cool dude. Shout out to Anthony Zaccardi. He puts out a lot of true crime books. Post Hill Press. Shout out to them. So Tim Jansen, there is a hearing next week. It's hard to believe. I think it's the following week, February 11th. I just looked at. It's weird because when I say February 11th, I think it's 7 months away. But February 11th is the following week. On Tuesday, 2:30 p.m. Does the moderator need ADHD treatment? Yes, very badly. That's the question. Tim, do you know what to expect in this next hearing?
Do we know is it a regular case management or is it a discovery deadline? Do we know what's the hearing entitled?
COE, I'm going to throw that to you. I honestly don't know. I think it is a lengthy hearing. So it's some sort of
pretrial
it's
motion?
Not. Yeah, it's like a pretrial motion because I understand it's supposed to go a few hours. So I'm assuming.
Well, that could be important.
Yeah.
Then you're going to start seeing the meat. You're going to start seeing some substance the closer we get to trial with these motions.
People are weighing in with the neck comments. You know what I did the other day, since I know everyone is dying to know. I go to a gym and I was doing the sauna and then the cold plunge, which was torture, but I really felt pretty good after that. Right now, Carm is literally going to FaceTime me during the show to tell me to shut. She's my Judge Everett. She's going to tell me to shut up. And this is true, Ned Smith. No truer statement has ever been said. I am constantly looking to the left. I asked the doctor, is that why? And he said, no, I don't believe him. I probably get the lidocaine cortisone shot then. Hopefully it helps. Hopefully it's not a pinched nerve. Oh, he did tell me what it is. He said that I had an MRI. It's like a lot of inflammation. How many people have, the number's going higher. I can't believe it. But he did say I have inflammation and a compressed C5, C6. So Joe Potuto, pretrial hearing filed back. Hey, what is this? Pretrial hearing e-file. This is another one on May 16th. You're way ahead of the game here, COE. This is after, I guess, the February 11th one, but this is going to be right before the trial. The trial is set to start June 3rd. Huh? Joe Potuto, is this trial going to start, do you think, on June 3rd? Are we on pace to be there?
I guess I'd put my money on Judge Everett that it's going to start when he says it's going to start. Yeah, I mean, they've got witnesses. They've already gone through this once where they had the witnesses ready. Some of them had flown in. Everybody was ready to go. They were starting the voir dire, or they were ready to start the voir dire, and then it, then it didn't go. And I recall him being pretty emphatic about the date that they were picking when they were trying to work out whose vacation schedules and and whether both sides thought their witnesses could be there. And I thought he was pretty emphatic that they were going to set a date, and that was going to be the date.
That's right. It will be.
Tim, it's official now from the COE case. By the way, we have a second channel, which is True Crime Talk, that is being spearheaded by the COE. It is Best Talk and True Crime, kind of modeling it after Sports Talk Radio, where you can turn on a channel and listen to true crime any time of day. And it's going to be hosted by our best guests, including hopefully Joe Potuto and Tim Jansen. We're rolling it out slowly, but Tim, back to this and my ADHD case management. It is a case management. So what does that tell you?
So what the judge does is he keeps these case managements coming so you can come before the judge so he can make sure this thing is on track. He wants to know if there's any motions, anything I need to know. He'll ask the state, he'll ask the defense. He's not going to let you come in May, say, Judge, we don't have this, when he's had these case managements and told you, I asked you if you had any problems. I set deadlines. Everybody said they were on go. If you need something from me or the court, I've asked you. You haven't done it. It's denied. As long as he has a record he can show that the defense either didn't bring it forward or the prosecution didn't bring it forward, he can properly deny it.
Look at this. The Queen has entered the building. Carm, my beloved mother. Hi, everybody. And then she follows it up with, I am feeling fine with an exclamation mark. There you go. She's trying to steal my thunder here. Christy Wolf, Tim, this has come up many, many times. I'm not asking about Wendy's arrest. I'm asking about Dan Rashbaum. Now that more time has passed, is there a chance that he gets called because of the waiver issue?
I think he might be called because of the flight, because he apparently had several conversations, what he said to them, that I think might become relevant depending on the testimony and the opening statement, what the defense, how they're going to explain this flight to avoid prosecution, to get around that, consciousness of guilt. So he might be called as a witness.
Joe Potuto, your thoughts on that? And look at this. It is in the docket. The trial is set for, look at that, June 3rd. Tim, last time I came up and saw you, it all went to, hell in a handbasket. So I'm hoping.
I told you it was. I told you. You didn't believe me when I said this trial is not going to happen.
Yeah. Joe Potuto, let me ask you.
Go ahead.
Because I asked Tim this every single time. Are they, and everyone wants to know, and I know you have the answer, are they going to arrest Wendy?
Well, I've said this before, Tim, and I think I know we disagree about this. My answer is yes. And I've said before, I think Tim's reasoning is spot on. And I walk with him most of the way. But I think a couple of things. One, I think that the evidence, Wendy, as I understand it, and I think there might be a little more out there. They've got that friend in California and some evidence there. If the jury runs the inferences the right way, and Donna is convicted, I'm assuming Donna will be convicted, that there's enough evidence to convict. And I think I've heard Tim you said before, why didn't they why didn't they prosecute her before this? And I think the answer to that may be that they felt they needed her to testify in the other trials. And so therefore they didn't prosecute her then. And my big reason for saying this is really they're never going to have more evidence against her after Donna's trial. And so they either take a shot at it, and I think if they've got a reasonable belief that they can convict beyond a reasonable doubt, and I think there's enough there where they could say that, then I think they'll go. So my answer, long answer, but the period at the end is yes.
Wow. That's coming from the professor. For some reason,
but you heard the experienced trial lawyer say no. So
Yeah, well, I go with my gut instinct, which is usually wrong, but I'm going to say I agree with Joe. I I just think that Georgia is too competitive, doesn't like her, and it's almost personal, even though she does not act that way. She's a consummate professional, but I think she's going to definitely go. This is true. There was just a small airplane crashing into the Potomac River right next to Reagan National Airport. All flights are grounded. Joe Potuto, do you remember that was one of the scary, that plane that crashed into the Potomac, the big commercial plane? Do you remember that? That was a huge story. Had to be in like the 80s. Do you remember that, Tim? It was like a frozen Potomac River.
I
Who
have a
knows?
very vague memory of it because
Someone in STS
if I'm
Nation, let
right,
us know what year that was.
yeah, because I think I had a friend who flew out the next day and they wanted her to put her seatbelt on and she gave them a hard time because the information coming out of that flight, the crash, was that the people who didn't have their seatbelts on got out. It's a very vague memory here. And it could
Yeah.
be wrong. It's that vague, it could be entirely wrong, but
They were saving a few people in the frozen waters. I could not think. Air Florida, there we go. Mr. C, what year? I cannot think of anything scarier.
Early
Even
80s.
prison. I would rather go to prison than be in a plane that goes down in an icy Potomac River. Put me in prison for life compared to, ugh, that scares me. Early 80s. Ned Smith said, great book and movie. What was the name of the book? Are you talking Air Florida? By the way, this could be a long case. Great comment. Tim Jansen, how long is this trial going to go? Because hopefully I'm going to be staying at your house now that I invited myself. They all survived. Is that true, Ned Smith? People in the water. Yeah, that's definitely true. But Tim, how long is this trial going to last? And maybe we'll start the cooking show when Steve Cohen and I are
Yeah, maybe.
infiltrating your home.
That'd be great. I think it might be 3 to 4 weeks. I think you're going to see a lot more aggressive defense, and I think they're going to actually call witnesses. Unlike, the defense is actually going to call witnesses in this case.
When you say, by the way, I want to get back to the aggressive defense, but I'd love to talk to Carm. Who wants Carm to comment on the Alexander brothers? He is in Miami, and Carm does go clubbing 3 nights a week. That's something that people don't know. I'm joking. But who wants Carm to comment on the Alexander brothers? She said she's down to do it. Here's the date, January 13th, 1982, Air Florida, Flight 90. Then there was the flight that crashed in the Everglades. That was People's Express. Well, these airlines are crazy. But Tim Jansen, what does a more aggressive defense mean?
They're going to really go after Chris on their phones. I think they're going to be more aggressive in the cross-examination of the witnesses. I just know these two, and you can see what they're doing now already, right? Motion for change of venue, motion for this, motion for that. They're laying the groundwork that they're going to do anything and everything they can do.
Wow. Look at this. Getting more news. A regional jet. So I thought there was a tiny plane. That could be a substantial plane from Wichita, Kansas, hit a Black Hawk helicopter all over the Potomac. Sorry, dear. COE, I had a tough last show. I know people get angry when I digress, including my mother. But look, let me tell you a little secret about the media, too, while I'm at it. This happened in Washington, D.C. This story is going to go on for the next 2 days. I guarantee it. New York City, same story. If it was in Wichita, you'd get a little headline. But since it's in the place where the quote unquote media elite live and work, this is going to be going on for a long time. I've really run out of things to say, which is why I'm talking about shots in my neck. Stay on top of Joel. Follow Joel and lead. Who will be witnesses for Donna? Let's put that up there, and then we'll start to wrap it up. Tim, you want to take that one?
Well, these 2 inmates, right? Supposedly, and they're going to call.
Tim, by the way, what are the chances they actually show up? Like they are actually called?
I've prepared defense witness lists for jury selection, had like 15 on them, and we might call 2 people. but you never know. Things change. Trials are fluid. Witnesses you thought you need, you really don't. They carried too much baggage. The state witness wasn't as strong as I thought, so we didn't need to call this witness to undermine him. Or the state witness admitted to what this witness was going to testify. So yeah, you don't want to call a witness that might hurt your case if things are going well. You only call them if you think they can negate what the state has put up.
Look at this. Nan says she enjoys the side tangents, followed by Brooklyn Pasola, who I owe some swag for this one. It is not easy to be able to pivot like this. True professional, bringing us the headlines as they break. Yes. Who else can? Joel is a pain in the neck. Steve Cohen says you need a checkup from the neck up. Joe Potuto is the professor emerita at the University of Nebraska. She's taught everywhere. She studies the law the way Bill Belichick studies defensive plays in the NFL.
He's in North Carolina now.
Yeah, I heard that. Did he actually sign? I heard that he might move to the. Oh, there
he signed.
No, I think he signed. He signed.
Yeah, and his girlfriend, they got a place together.
Yeah, he's 74 and she's 24. It's interesting. Joe Potuto. Look at this. Buttercup says, I love when you digress. I know I'm doing it way too much tonight. The COE is going to yell at me. This Carm is going to yell at me. My kids will be asleep. And I don't know. Joe Potuto, your final thoughts here. We've got this hearing coming up again in a week, the following week. And then the next one that's on the docket is in May, right prior to the trial. I assume we'll get some court hearings between then. Your final thoughts, I guess.
Well, I have one related to this trial and one related to the Adelsons generally. To this trial, I'm really glad it's moving, and I think it will continue to move. And it would be really nice. I know it'll be nice for the Markell family, surely. And for Tallahassee and the court docket and the judge and everyone else to get this one underway and done. And the other thing I don't know if you've done it on a show, but the Charlie's appeal with regard to resentencing was denied by Judge Everett. He said he didn't use the grid to make the decision anyway, and the sentence that he imposed is a sentence that stands. So
KCL,
Charlie news.
Yeah, KCL is all of us. We love Joe Potuto, best professor.
Well, thank you.
They actually think about this for a moment. Imagine being on this flight. How does an American Eagle plane collide with a Black Hawk? That is one of the most frightening things that I could possibly imagine, in the middle of a dark sky into icy water. That is crazy.
How high could it be? I mean, how high can a Black Hawk go?
Look at it. They just showed, they have the collision on air, like on camera.
That's terrible.
So that now it's going to go for 4 days since they have the video. They're going to show it for the next 48 hours. And then 3 days from now, they're going to say, yeah, we're not going to show the video. It's too disturbing. Garrett, watch this happen. But they'll get the most out of it as I continue to rail against the mainstream traditional media. Someone come at me. I don't care. Tim Jansen, you're in Tallahassee. We talked about last time that not everyone in Tallahassee is glued to this case. It's really true crimers. So they should be able to find a jury. There was, by the way, going to maybe we talk about a change of venue that was not discussed. Is that possible that it comes up in the following week that they talk about a change of venue?
Well, remember they said they were going to bring some expert to come testify about all the pre-trial publicity. And I think they were going to want a hearing on it. They have to, by Florida law, try to pick a jury. Only after they try to pick the jury, if the court is convinced that they can't pick a jury, then will they consider a change of venue. It's not going to happen. Tallahassee, you have a lot of students that come and go. You have a lot of people that move here from South Florida that don't know anything about this case. And by June, no one's going to know except people reading the Democrat, and not many people are doing that because everybody does. And I don't mean, I'm not a Democrat, but
it's a great paper.
It's a great paper, but they stream it And if anybody knows his case, it's going to be Jeff Burlew and the Democrat. But I just don't think they get enough people that will possibly sit on this jury that are going to read the articles.
By the way, another quick diversion. Carm gives me lists of things to do, and then she's up my you-know-what to get them done. I'm a middle-aged man. So she had a couple of things on the list for me.
Oh, you're going to live to 100?
Yeah. Well, no, I'm not. So she gives, and I'll just say it right now. One of them was, she was telling me I had to call my publisher because I hadn't talked to him in a really long time. And Carm is business. She likes to handle business. But then on the flip side, I asked her, she told me she has a woman in her building whose son, probably 10 years older than me, but he is an orthopedist. This is what goes on. And so I said, you better get me in touch with him before I get this shot, because I want to get a second opinion. Does she contact the woman or the orthopedist? No. Do I contact the publisher? Yes. And then I'll call her and she'll tell me that she was too busy today. So she, that will be Carm. And then I'll push her about what she did. And that's when the F-bomb will come out and she will say, Joel, and she'll say it. And then I'll say, I wish everybody on Surviving the Survivor could hear this exchange. And she'll be silent for a second. And she'll say, I'll deny every word. And then it's
You need a
complete
tape
silence.
recorder.
Yeah, that's right. Well, I have it for the book, but here, I don't know. It doesn't work out. Anyway, I've obviously run out of things to say. It was a short hearing today that we just made long somehow. The bottom line is Donna's got some cockamamie story about 2 inmates that I have the full information. You better, Carm. I'm checking in with you after. Oh, my God. By the way, I went to see Jerry Seinfeld, and I took Carm over the weekend. He is so funny. I was not expecting him to be as funny. I don't really watch his stand-up. Obviously, I watched his show. But Carm absolutely loved it. And there was a reason I brought it up, and now I literally cannot. Oh, Jerry's mother is still alive. Jerry's in his 70s. So I asked Carm if Jerry's mother still annoys him. And she said 100%. I said, but the guy's worth $800 million. She says it doesn't matter. She's on him for something. Do you agree with that, Joe Potuto? He's 72.
He deserves it.
Yeah.
I mean, a mother is a mother. She's always trying to make you better and help you improve. And that's not going to change because you're older, right?
Yeah. Not only is Seinfeld still alive, Blackwood, but his mother is still alive. So Tim, what do you think? Do you think the mother is still bugging him?
100%.
Yeah, 100%. Jerry, why?
And she wouldn't say it's bugging. She's saying she's offering positive advice and help.
Yeah. Jerry, why are you wearing sneakers, Jerry? You're worth $800 million. Why are you wearing sneakers, Jerry? Basically, by the way, he gave marital advice, Tim Jansen. That was a big part of his stand-up. And the takeaway, the one thing he said, he did have a show about nothing. He actually said it was funny. He said the show about nothing did so well that they then just NBC wanted to compete, and that's how Friends came up, which was a show about nothing except with good-looking people. But he said that I'm losing my mind now. What was I just saying? Anyway,
marriage.
Marriage. He said the one rule is you can never ask a question, Tim Jansen. He says just whatever you do, stay under the radar. Don't ask any questions because questions will come back to haunt you. And he said that everything that he learns about himself is by listening to his wife speaking to her friends. Jerry had a wonderful time on vacation. Jerry did. By the way, Tim Jansen, Jerry said that he went on vacation and hated every second of it because he just likes to be left alone and go to work. And then he said, I went to exactly the kind of place you think I went to, where a very wealthy person would go with golf carts. And he said it was the most awful experience of his life. Joe Potuto, do you buy that? Because that's very Howard Stern-esque. Do you think Carm thinks he's 100% sincere? I haven't looked at the comments. I don't think anyone's left watching. But do you think that he's actually being serious when he says he hates vacation?
Probably. I think he's somebody who likes to work, likes to be busy, and I don't see him as somebody who would like to sit on a beach and, and just do nothing. Do you?
No, not at all. And he's like, my wife dragged me there, and he's like, there's like the butler, like he was like making fun of himself that he's this rich guy who gets caught up in this stuff. But did he say like
Right. He may have had a show about nothing, but he worked hard to make the show about nothing. Right?
Yeah, I mean, the guy's a genius. He is. I hate to
Yeah.
admit it. I told Carm it drives me crazy that he's successful and I'm not. But she told me that's a whole other story and an issue with me. Maybe that'll be part of book number 2. Ned Smith, did Jerry Seinfeld say anything about his neck? He's actually he's in unbelievably good shape. The guy's 72. He's like in phenomenal shape. He looks great. I was very impressed. I'll shut up now. Love you all. By the way, we have a doubleheader tomorrow night, 5:00. There's a woman named Mamta Bhatt, Bhatt, missing. The husband arrested on murder charges. Jury Duty podcast did the show. Did the research. They're coming on the show to talk about it. And then a story that I'm very interested in is this AI whistleblower named Suchir Bajali, 26 years old. He's a prodigy. He's working for OpenAI and then blows the whistle on OpenAI, and he is found dead. Was he murdered? Was it an unaliving? They say it was unaliving. Most people, including Elon Musk, does not believe it. Tucker Carlson does not believe it. Not that I really care what either of them say, but I'm just saying it's getting a lot of public attention, and we will discuss that tomorrow night. Huge thanks to Tim, Joe, the COE, Space Coast, Steve Cohen, all the mods. Love you, and pray for those families over the Potomac. What a horrible story. I'm going to go home and check that out. Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Tim. Love you, Tallahassee. Love you, Jersey. And justice for Dan Markel always.